Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to discuss facial nerve. Facial nerve or cranial nerve 7 has motor, sensory and parasympathetic functions. It controls facial expressions, salivation, lacrimation and taste sensation from anterior two-thirds of the tongue and floor of the mouth and from the palate. Now the fibers are connected to four nuclei present in the lower pons. There is a motor nucleus or the branchomotor nucleus, two parasympathetic nuclei, the suprasalivatory nucleus and the lacrimatory nucleus. Nucleus for taste sensation, that is nucleus of tractus solitarius. Now the part of the facial nerve nucleus which supplies the muscles of upper part of the face would receive fibers from both the right and left motor cortex, while part of the facial nerve nucleus which supplies muscles of lower part of the face would receive fibers only from the opposite motor cortex. Here you can see this is the facial nerve nuclei. Now the part of the nucleus which is supplying the fibers to upper part of the face has bilateral representation in the motor cortex, while part of the nucleus which is supplying muscles of lower part of the face, it is receiving fibers only from the contralateral motor cortex. It does not have bilateral representation in the motor cortex. This would give a difference between upper motor neuron lesions and lower motor neuron lesions, as we will study later. Now the course of facial nerve, it has a sensory root, nervus intermedius and motor root. Now it emerges on the anterior surface of the hindbrain between medulla and pons. The root would pass laterally in the posterior cranial fossa along with the 8th cranial nerve. Then it would enter the internal acoustic meatus present in the petrous part of the temporal bone. Now at the bottom of the meatus, this would enter the facial canal. As it passes through the facial canal, rest of its course is through the ear. It enters the facial canal running through the laterally through the inner ear. On reaching the medial wall of middle ear, the nerve would swell and form a geniculate ganglion. Now the nerve would bend sharply backwards above the promontory and at the posterior wall of the middle ear. Bends down on the medial side of the arteries of mastoid antrum. The nerve would descend behind the pyramid and finally it would emerge from the temporal bone through stylomastoid foramen. After that, the extracranial course of the nerve would be as it passes through the parotid gland. It would divide into 5 terminal branches. In this diagram, you can see this is the facial nerve is arising from the lower part of the pons along with the vestibulocochlear nerve. It would pass through the internal acoustic meatus. After that, its course would be in the petrous part of the temporal bone and finally it would emerge through the stylomastoid foramen. After that, it would pass through the parotid gland, dividing into its 5 terminal branches. Now for the branches of facial nerve, it would give off branches at different levels. It would give branches within the facial canal. It would give branches while it is exiting from the stylomastoid foramen and terminal branches within the parotid gland. In addition, it also gives off communicating branches to the adjacent cranial and spinal nerves. As we study individual branches, here you can see there is a greater petrosal nerve. Now the greater petrosal nerve would arise at the geniculate ganglion. It contains preganglionic parasympathetic fibers that would synapse in the pterygopalatine ganglion. After synapsing, the postganglionic fibers that are originating would be secretomotor fibers to lacrimal gland and glands of the nose and the palate. It also contains taste fibers from the palate. Here you can see the greater petrosal nerve. Now this greater petrosal nerve is synapsing at the pterygopalatine ganglion, and these are the postganglionic fibers. In addition, it gives off nerve to the stapedius, which supplies the stapedius muscle in the middle ear. It also gives off chorda tympani nerve, which runs forward over the medial surface of tympanic membrane and then would leave the middle ear through the petrotympanic fissure. After that, it enters the infratemporal fossa and then would join the lingual nerve. The function of chorda tympani nerve is that it contains preganglionic parasympathetic secretomotor fibers to the salivary glands, that is the submandibular and the sublingual salivary gland. It also contains taste fibers from the anterior two-thirds of the tongue and the floor of the mouth. Here you can see the chorda tympani nerve that would pass through the petrotympanic fissure. It also gives posterior auricular, digastric and stylohyoid branches to these three at exit point from the stylomastoid foramen. Now as it passes through the parotid gland, it gives off temporal, zygomatic, buccal, marginal mandibular and cervical branches which would supply the facial muscles. How can you test the facial nerve? Now for facial nerve we will perform different tests called facial expressions as it supplies the facial muscles. For testing frontalis, ask the patient to look upward without moving his head. Normal horizontal wrinkles would appear on the forehead, as you can see in this case. Now for frowning, if you ask the patient to frown in order to test corrugator supercilii. Tight closure of the eyes against the resistance shows the function of orbicularis oculi, as you can see in this picture. Ask the patient to show teeth, which would give the function of dilators of mouth, as you can see here. For the function of orbicularis oris, whistling and pursing of mouth. For buccinator, puffing of mouth or blowing forcibly as in whistling would show the function of buccinator muscle. Here you can see in this picture. Similarly for platysma, forcible pulling of angles of the mouth downwards and backwards. This would form vertical folds on the neck skin.